programming can be learned because it's science and it's algorithms and X's and O's and regress to here. There's an art to it as well, but the real magic is in the other stuff you talked about, the communication, making people feel seen, cultivating the connection between the people in the group.
Yeah, it almost feels like, you're a football coach and you're like, okay, this is the plays for the day. How are we going to execute? And that execution may be hour by hour, person by person, but we executed and we won. And they walked out the door, they felt like they won.
Chris Hogan, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for coming out this morning.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, bro.
This is the best. I'm back
I love it, man. Well, you're the first coach I've ever had on.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I thought about that the other day because obviously you work with a couple of our franchisees, right? Different locations around Atlanta.
Yeah.
And when Jen, who's West Roswell, threw your name in the hat, I was like, you know what? I have not had a coach on here that's actually doing the thing. Yeah. I mean, I've had directors on. We talk a lot about sales because that's a blind spot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I'm so stoked to have a regular coach.
Oh, man.
I'll say regular. Superstar.
Man,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
a coach that's doing the thing. So.
Oh, my God, man. Thank you for having me. Shouts out to Jen, too, man. Love Jen.
Yeah, right?
She's awesome. She is so awesome.
Yeah, she is. Everybody loves Jen, man.
Yeah.
She's the best.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, look, you know how this works. Did you bring a dad joke?
I brought a dad joke.
Let's lay it on me. I'm already laughing.
What do you call a bee that lives in America?
I don't know.
A USB.
By the way, Chris used to work for Apple, so he's like, yes, I want that.
I didn't think you were loud. I didn't think you were loud. I thought you were just like,
What kind of shoes do thieves wear?
Lay it on me.
Sneakers. This is so bad. Usually I'm better than that, man. I'm better than that.
That was a good one.
A lot of pressure. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
One.
Look, man, let's get down to business. I read some about your backstory, but you and I just met this morning.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be learning a ton about you, as is everyone else. So tell me about your background. Like, what have you been doing? And just let's get us from you, to becoming a personal trainer or a coach.
Well, really my whole life, I've been a kind of a overweight kid, basically my whole entire life, from time I can remember to high school. Kids are very cruel, so you go through that whole get bullied and stuff like that, which
Did that happen?
Yeah, a lot of the time. I was never an athletic kid. I never played a sport, anything. Never really a strong kid, nothing. Still am an emotional kid.
But it's okay if you cry on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm always crying about something, dude. And then 2021 rolled around. I remember the day. It was probably January 2nd. I kind of got that, I don't want to call it a New Year's resolution, but it did hit me like, you need to do something. Because I used to stutter really, really bad. And I had to kind of teach myself how to get out of that. And at this point, I'm 24 years old. And then January 18th is when I stepped into a Planet Fitness. Didn't know what the equipment was. Didn't know what I would literally.
Had you ever been in a gym before?
Never been into a gym before. So I was like almost 300 pounds, walked into a Planet Fitness and like, what is this? This looks like a whole different planet, What was
your mentality at that point, if you don't mind me asking? Like, were you nervous to go into a gym?
No, I wasn't really per se nervous, but I did have it in my head to like, if once I step in here, I can't step back out.
That I like.
That was the mindset. Once you go, you can't quit. I used to watch Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, yeah.
Love Dragon Ball Z. And my favorite character is Goku. Phenomenal. And his main point of him is to get stronger, beat the next person. And after that, get stronger than that, stronger than that, stronger than that. So when I stepped into a gym, it's like you have to stick to it. Now I did, and I lost like 30 pounds by myself, and that was by March. So January to March, I lost 30 pounds alone. Walked every day, lifted the weights I didn't know, used machines. I taught myself how to speak clearly, so that wasn't an obstacle really much anymore. And then along the way, I met another trainer named Jesse. I love him, and he taught me basically all the stuff I know now, which is, how to live, how to use a barbell. And then the rest is history. I lost 100 pounds, and then 2022, so a year later, 2022, I became an Alloy coach.
That's unreal, dude. 100 pounds. And I didn't realize you had a stutter as well.
It was bad.
Did you overcome that in the same time period that you were losing weight, or was it earlier in your life?
That was like the start, really. It was like you you got to be a man. So I was kind of like, you got to be. For me, it was like you can't be a kid your whole life. Stuttering, overweight. That's 24 years old. I kind of felt like I was a kid still.
Yeah.
So I was like, you need to stop and think before you speak. And I kind of stopped talking for a while. I stopped talking, like, don't say a word until you realize you have to think before you speak. After a while, it came out like, can I have, and then it was just like, I'm talking to you now.
Dude, that's unreal. I mean, there's zero detection that's there at all. And you're quick. Your sense of humor is quick. You speak quickly in a good way, right?
Yeah.
It's like crazy, man.
Oh, it's definitely there.
Props to you, dude.
Yeah,
and no therapy for that. You just fixed it.
No, I just fixed it.
Yo,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
While losing all that weight.
It was.
That changes your whole life.
It did. It really did. It really did. It's like kind of like one of those blood, sweat, and tears things where you just can't give up. Was it easy? By no means.
Right.
By no means was it easy. But
is that obviously? I think it's a sort of a rhetorical question, but like changing your life and how you felt. Is that why you became a trainer, to spread that?
Yeah. So after I lost, after I kind of felt good and fit at that point, 2022 that summer, I was in the crossroads. I was still working for Apple too, and I kind of got tired of doing the same mundane wake up, sit at a chair for 8 hours, repeat.
Right.
And I was kind of like, well, I got to do something else. There's something I need to really do, and I knew I loved the gym. I would leave the gym and be like, man, I got to wait till tomorrow.
That's so strange. Yeah, most people don't understand.
No, I loved it. So then I was like, well, why not? And at that point, I just was like, and then I asked my own trainer, I was like, what do you think? And he said, go for it. So I got online to ISAA.
Yep.
And then after that, I'm sorry, ISSA.
Yep.
And then after that, it took me 7 days. It's supposed to take you 6 months. 7 days, I bought the book. By that Friday, took the final exam. They emailed me back, you passed, you're a certified trainer. Then after that, a month later, I found gyms, interviewed gyms, and Alloy came across me. Here I am.
That's so cool. Well, and for like, I've never had an owner reach out to say, hey, this coach is unreal. You should have him on the podcast. So it's a testament to you. And right now you're working with two different ownership groups, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But 3 different clubs.
Yes.
So do you just pull shifts at 3 different clubs?
Well, my main one right now, the one I'm mostly at work right now is Windermere.
Okay, yeah.
But I was at Dunwoody for almost 3 years.
Yep.
I was there, which I love Dunwoody. I love.
Yeah, great club, man.
Good club.
Joy's a killer too.
Joy is awesome. But then like in January, I got let go by Apple, and then the floodgates opened to Windermere just opened. We need a coach here,
right?
And then Joy said you can be here while still working at Dunwoody from time to time. And then Joy connected me to Jen, and then that's how I got to 3 places at once.
That's awesome. Well, that's the strength of having like a bunch of franchises in a pretty close proximity.
Yeah.
Because then someone like you, because it's hard for people, franchisees at times to find long-term part-time coaches.
Yeah.
But if you've got someone that can almost work full-time hours, but share it between different clubs, right?
Yeah.
It works out really well. So
yeah,
it helps everyone, dude. It really does.
Oh yeah. And then and plus it's like when somebody's like, oh, I'm sick or I got a kids thing. I love kids. So if somebody's parent says, I can't coach, I got the kids, got to go here. I'm like, hey, I'm there. I'm your guy.
I love it.
Kid, man.
I love it. So you landed in Alloy. So of course this is a layup question, but what do you like about coaching at an Alloy?
What I like coaching about an Alloy is that it's the more so of the connection with the clients and people.
Amen to that.
That's really the best thing I can say about it, because you get a lot of the time, for me, because I know what it is when, somebody's looking for somewhere to go. Somebody's looking for a gym. And then they, like, well, I'm scared, I'm nervous. I don't know what that feels like. But I can also say, like, well, don't be nervous. And then I always get gratification when people come in and then they're nervous and I help them be at ease.
Do you share your story?
Sometimes it comes into passing, know, because sometimes people, some people look at you like, man, you're just a kid. You don't know anything.
You literally just went through it, though, especially if they have a weight loss goal, which most people have at least one of their goals is weight loss, right?
Exactly. That's a lot of the time. So then, I make them feel comfortable, and just the gratification of this job is the best. gratification. This is not work for me. This is truly the funnest thing I could be
Same.
doing. Yeah.
Dude, for 33 years. I mean, you know, I showed you around earlier. You're like,
Yeah.
you've been here that long? I'm like, yeah, bro, since before you were born. Yeah, I was 4 years. You weren't even born yet. I was already open for 4 years. But to your point, whether I was training all day, you know, 8 hours a day, whatever it was, or then, you know, we talked about consulting and speaking and then licensing and then eventually franchising. I've never had a stage that I didn't enjoy. And so now looking back on it, and of course you're realizing this now, it's like, it's a real gift to wake up every day and not dread what you're doing, man. It's like I would do it. And I say this, I would do it for free. I would like, as a hobby, I would help people because that's my driving force. And it's always, like the passion has to be for helping people.
Yeah.
Fitness is a vehicle.
Yes.
But the passion isn't the thing, it's the thing, what the thing does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you know, trainers, they're like, oh man, they get really into like Olympic lifting or kettlebell lifting. And then it's like, it's not really about the thing or the tool or the style. It's more about helping people.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, like, you know, like I like to have little, you know, events and stuff, and I'll be like, you know, I'll ask Joy or whoever, I'll be like, you don't even have to pay me to do this. It's just something I want to do. Like, I just want to do it. You know, I would do whatever it is for any of the owners because I just love my job that much. I love these friends. I want everybody to win, including the clients. So yeah, like you said, that goes to it. It's just not work at all, man. This is the best job I can ever asked for.
Dude, I love it.
For sure.
I remember, like, I would always describe it as like, look, it's a job that I would do for free. People pay you handsomely to do it, and then they thank you like you did them a favor. It's it's the most self-grat. I mean, I used to say, I think, like, for me, I'm not speaking on behalf of you or any other coach, but I was like, this is the most selfish job ever. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I get way more out of it than the clients do.
Exactly.
I could have something going on in my personal life back then. I'm like, ugh, you know, but I'm like, all right, well, I got to bring my A game, put my personal problems aside. And lo and behold, lifting other people up for a shift, I'd walk out of there and be a totally different mood. I'm like, that helped me maybe more than it helped the customers.
Yeah, and you know what? It's something to say about that because it's like you said, some days you're human, so everybody's not gonna have the best day when they go there. So a lot of the time, these clients, I have a lot of, I like to call them, I have a lot of big sisters, I have a lot of aunts, I have a lot of moms, and sometimes if I am having a bad day and they're training, I'll go in and vent like, man, this is what's going on with me. While you work out, I'm just going to run my mouth because you just working out. I'm just watching you. So I'll run my mouth and talk, and sometimes the coach needs to be coached. You know, just, hey, this is what you need to do, and this is what I think from my perspective, and I love that. I love that. So it's like,
well, think about the value your position in their life as a coach, and then if you need them for anything, and look, don't get it twisted. It's not like Chris is out there being like, "Oh, I have all these personal problems," and everybody's just standing there not working out.
Right.
It just happens in the regular flow of conversation. Like, bro, you're like, "How you doing?" And you're like, "Well, I'm having a day." You know what I mean? And then people laugh. But if they can like weigh in and feel like they're helping you just with wisdom because they're older, that's what cultivates that relationship of like the mom or the auntie or whatever that is. Yeah, 100%. I get it. Yeah. So I think you've already answered this, but what is your favorite part about being a coach?
The gratification of starting the point of changing lives. And another thing I like about it is the community that you build within the gym. So like there'll probably be a new person that walks in, and there's like 5 other people in the session. You introduce them, and next thing you know, they walk out best buddies.
Isn't that awesome?
That is the best.
And you're the conduit.
And I'm the conduit.
Yes.
And then, or they'll be like, yeah, you know, then they'll ask like, what time are you here? I want to come when you're here. Like all that stuff. And then the rejoice behind them finishing. I can't explain how many times people walk in and are like, I didn't know if I can really do this.
Yes.
Those things, man, they matter, man. Things like that matter more than your story. More than my story. It matters that you help somebody realize they have a story too. So dude, you can't even.
I'm out, dude. Damn, I'm if you don't see me, Chris is taking me to church over here for trainers. I'm just like, yes, that's what it's supposed to be about. What would you tell a coach who's like, oh, I want to do my own programming and has an ego around that? Because one thing that we do is that we give a framework for programming, but you still have to coach, right? So, and I want people to understand that because I don't want personal trainers, sometimes there's a bit of an ego around it. And I get it. Like maybe you've earned that, right? And you got a million certifications and all that stuff. That's great. But like, it's not the most important thing, right?
Not the most important
and
thing.
so what would you say to someone who's like, well, I don't want to follow, and I'm air quoting, someone else's programming?
What I would say to that is you don't know everything because people are different. Everybody's not. You can come up with your own program and say, I'm going to have people do a deadlift, a squat, a bench press, a push-up. When you finally get to that person, they're like, well, I can't do a deadlift. I don't know how to do a push-up. I have a shoulder problem. Then you have to, with the programming we have, it's based around those things. Like I told you before off camera, 75% of our job is modifying stuff.
Progressions, regressions, right?
Right. For people who can do what they can do and still feel good about it when they walk out the door. So I would say definitely that we have this programming for a reason. And I'd say stick to it because everybody can't do what you planned out for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I always say, hey, look, it's like bandwidth. Like I used to coach. If I was honest, I wouldn't sit home on Sunday night and write programs for 6 people per hour for a 6-hour shift. Like you're not doing that. You're not. And so like, here's something that's like a platform you can stand on to go out there and change lives, but you gotta make it come to life. And like, we've got an app and it's like, here's Chris might grab the iPad and it's like, this person's at this level.
Yeah.
Here's their injuries. And it's like, maybe they're really fit. Maybe they're a power level client with no injuries, right? They walk in the door that day and they're like, oh, Chris, man, I can't do any of that. I was planting a tree in the yard and I tweaked my back.
Right.
Well, you got 5 other people there. Again, you got to know your modifications, your progressions and regressions, and you got to think on your feet. So you're still coaching, right?
Yes. Yep. You're still coaching. And another thing about this is when you say the question, this job is always learning. You're learning something every day, every single day. Like there is not a day where I walk out of there and I'm like, oh, no, just another day. No, I learned something new each and every day from somebody who walks and probably has a prosthetic leg. I don't know anything about a prosthetic leg. But then somebody walk in and teach you, well, I can do this with my leg. I can do that with my leg versus, okay, well, I just wrote you a workout. Even with your prosthetic leg, I don't know what you're going to do, but you got to do this.
Right.
So
that's like class-based concepts. It's like one size fits all.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And it's not that. Being a coach at LA is a learning position all across the board, all the time. From being not criticized, but critiqued in what if the owner's watching say, oh, well, you could have did this better. I would have done this with him. Things like that, or even the way you speak, it's like a lot of those things come into play. So that's why I say, like, ego has to be at the door when you walk into a alloy for sure.
Well, that's funny you say that because we always say, like, on our team, be a student, not a critic, right? Like there's something to be learned from everyone. Yeah. Like you've been coaching for a few years. I will leave this conversation more inspired about the changing lives aspect of what we do just by this conversation. Probably pick up a few nuggets that I'll be able to use, talk to other coaches about because I learned it from you. So it's like, oh, you've been doing it for 34 years. What would you learn from a coach that's been doing it 2 years? I'm like, a lot, because your perspective is totally different than mine, right? So like there's always something to be learned, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. 1,000%. And like I said, it's always like, when you're on the floor, yes, your job is to be there as a coach, but your job is also to listen. You always have to be listening to the client. Whatever they say, whatever they feel, okay, I did this, but I feel discomfort here. Okay, well, let's do this and try that. It's learning. Like you said, be a student. That goes along.
Well, and like, face it, like learning, at least the way I'm wired, and it sounds like the way you're wired, I enjoy that. So like, it's like my curiosity has me go in and be like, oh, I'll work with someone today who has MS. These are the things we could do. They couldn't get too overheated, so we had to like take more time between all this stuff, that you learn, and you just keep stacking knowledge, and then eventually, what's funny about this? I'd say this story a lot, but it reminds me of kind of where you are in coaching, what you'll go through, where you'll end up. Bruce Lee summed it up perfectly. He's like, look, man, when I first started doing martial arts, punch was a punch and a kick was a kick. Like it was simple, right? Then I learned more, and then it was like all these styles and angles, and it was like got pretty complicated, right? Yeah. Then once he became like a second degree black belt, once again, punch is a punch, kick is a kick, right? So like where you're starting out like brand new. You're like, hey, just keep it simple. We're here to change lives, right? You start stacking a bunch of knowledge. What you have to be able to do is keep it simple, because it can get complicated. You can get a bunch of weird certifications and myofascial, this and that. And you're like, we need to be doing this, we need to do that. And you just be throwing everything in that bucket. It's like, whoa. You don't even need to do that.
Don't need to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then eventually you look back on it and you're like, wow, I had it figured out at the start, right?
Yeah, man. And I love Bruce Lee.
So many great quotes. Be like water.
I love Bruce Lee, man. And that goes on to it, because I remember my very first day in training with Joy. I remember it. She was I was shadowing her for the first time, and it was her location is stacked. Every hour has a good amount of people. So I was watching her, and I did feel like I was like, man, I'm way over my head. I was like, she has to mod this, mod that for this person, and I was sitting in the background like, man, how am I going to do that? So for a whole week, I watched her for like a whole week, like 3 times a week. I watched her for a whole week, and I remember on the 7th day, she said, "Well, all right, you're on your own. Got to do the 5 o'clock or the 6 o'clock." And I was like, uh-oh. I was like, uh-oh. And then, like, Joy likes to, Joy will stick around, but she's around. Like, she'll walk around, go throw towels inside the washing machine, or go on a run or something like that. And I'm like, what am I going to do with these people? But we got notes and stuff like that.
Sure.
And stuff like that. But I remember, as I went along, it came natural and it came easy. And from what I know from that first day to where I am now, it's like a night and day.
Right. You step out there now, it's like just place of comfort, also excitement.
Exactly.
And then you can put, like, once you get over that, which doesn't take long, by the way, turns out that's almost the easiest thing that we have to teach, which has been surprising over all these years, is like programming can be learned, because it's science and it's algorithms and X's and O's and regress to here. There's an art to it as well, but the real magic is in the other stuff you talked about, the communication, making people feel seen, cultivating the connection between the people in the group.
Yeah, it almost feels like, you're a football coach and you're like, okay, this is the plays for the day. How we're going to execute. And that execution may be hour by hour, person by person, but we executed and we won. And they walked out the door. They felt like they won. So,
mic drop. So many golden nuggets, man. I love it. Let's switch to the client mentality. So, what would you say to a client who came in who's really been struggling to stick to a program, or maybe they don't even have the self-confidence or self-efficacy? You've been through it, right?
Yeah.
What would you tell that person?
I always ask the why. Why do you feel the way you feel? Where, like, you always want to know their background as to what led them to feeling the way they feel before you met me. So I like when they come in at like 5 minutes before the session, so that way I can kind of get to gauge who they are as a person. And when they do tell you, like, well, I'm struggling to stick with this, struggling to stick with that, first and foremost, I always tell them, well, if you're going to be with me, accountability is going to be a huge thing. We have to be held accountable for
well, it's kind of what they're paying for.
Yes, exactly. That's what they're paying for. So accountability is a huge thing. So I tell them, well, this is what we're going to do. This is the workout. Now, we're going to push a little hard, because if that's probably why you feel the way you feel. You feel like you're doing the work, but there's no fulfillment in you doing the work. You didn't walk out of your own workout saying, I did something. No, I'm going to make sure you do that. As long as you have that mindset of Chris is going to push me, or this coach is going to push me, I think you'll be fine. So I always just say, come with an open mind.
So find a coach.
Find a good coach.
Keep an open mind.
Build rapport.
There you go.
Always build rapport. You want to be open and honest. Say you built the pace. This is your workout. You built the pace. So once we get all those things down, just make sure you have it in your head, well, if Chris is not, or this coach is not going to give up on me, I'm not either. Have that mentality. You'll be fine.
Dude, it's awesome. Yeah. I love it. It reminds me, as you were talking, we used to, when we worked with a really big fitness brand, they had thousands of gyms. So that when they ran like a study, they had good data, right? Because there's a ton of data. And they had at one point, what were I think it was the 5 major uplifts of a gym visit. So I go to the gym. What are 5 things that need to happen to make me leave enjoying my experience? One of them was completing a challenging workout. So you were mentioning like, hey, look, like it needs to challenge you a little bit so that you'll feel like you've accomplished something, right? There's real psychology to that.
Yeah.
Like it was one of the top 5 reasons why 5,000 clubs worldwide, why anybody would even walk in there.
Oh, yeah.
They need to feel like they did something that day.
Oh yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. And I learned that. If there were days where I remember once I couldn't do a push-up. Ran home. I'm 24 years old at the time. Ran home to my mom. I can't do a push-up. And she looked at me like, what do you want me to do about that? I don't know what to tell you, son. You're going to have to just go keep doing one. Did I want to give up and throw away all my workout gear I bought? Absolutely. It felt like no, but no. You had to have that killer mentality of, I'm going to do this. Walk in the door that way. Man, there's nothing you can't do if you had that mentality.
Dude, love it, man.
For sure.
Love it. I can tell you right now, you're in the right seat. Changing lives is your calling, man. That's what you're going to be doing.
That is my thing.
I got a bonus question for you.
So,
If you were going to sing gun to your head, you have to sing karaoke. What song are you picking?
The Weeknd, Faith.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh,
I
love it.
that song. I love The Weeknd, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody knows that. But that's my favorite artist of all time. Love him.
Can you sing it all? I can't sing it all. I'm not going to ask you to do it.
Yeah,
I can't sing a lick. All right, cool.
Sing it all.
Cool. Yeah.
No.
I'll be like, all right, what kind of songs just have you talk? Because that would be what I'd pick. But now we got your song. Look, man, I appreciate having you on. Like,
Yeah, of course.
I mean, dude, I'm a fan, honestly. Like, I love what you said. Like,
Man, thank you.
that's why I've done it as long as I have. I've never felt like I work a day in my life. You said you don't feel like you work, and you're just getting started, brother.
man,
So I
thank
appreciate you helping Alloy clients, and I look forward to where your career ends up long
man.
term.
Thank you for having me, Rick. Seriously, I don't even want to leave. I want to spend the night. Can I put it like a little?
Yeah, man. I used to sleep in here when I first opened. I was broke. I had the whole twin mattress somewhere in there.
Oh, my God.
That was a long time ago. Well, look, man, how about this? We'll have you back on in a few months as things evolve. And I know you got some aspirations even within Alloy to keep moving up in positions. So I would love to keep you in the brand. I hope that happens for you.
Oh, man. Cool, man. Thank
Appreciate
you
it, Chris.
again. All right. No problem.
Cheers.
All right. See you.